Recording in progress. We did it again. Talked over each other. I feel like this has become, I just need to say something just so no one hears you say happy Tuesday. I'm assuming that's what you said?
What happens if we talk at the same time? Do they hear you and not me because you have the good mic, or do they hear me and not you, or do they hear nothing?
It depends. Usually it's just like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." And they're like, okay, and that's over. Let's get to the rest of the episode. So it's not the best. It's not the best thing, but that is what happens when you don't have a real intro. Maybe we
Yeah.
should work on that. You think we should do that? Like a real intro?
Yeah, maybe.
That means it's probably not going to happen. But uh, that's okay. We don't need a real intro at this point, but we are going to bring back some stuff from when way back in the day when we first started podcasting. That'll be
Yeah.
fun when we have our first guest here, which we do not have scheduled yet, but at some point we will. Um, I don't know. Maybe people are scared to be on the podcast at this point. They don't want to come back, or they've heard enough. They're like, I don't want to be a part of the show. They're trying to live through other people's experience. They're like, nope, I've seen that. Don't want to do it.
Well, we took such a long break too, so we just we'll pump some episodes out there, and then they'll be like, "Oh, they're back. Okay, time to."
Yeah, exactly. I forgot how much fun they are. I like those too. And then they get in. It's like, oh, I forgot that it's all smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Instagram is not reality. But what are you wearing today? What I like to know what brand is your sweatshirt? Is that a fire department?
Yeah, I don't know. I stole it from my friend.
Okay, cool.
It's,
There you go.
it's Kaylin's.
Sure. Does she know?
Oh yeah, she knows.
I no, okay, hold on. I like how you said that. Like, it's like, of course she knows. I would never take it and not tell someone. You have a long track record on this show of being a thief. So I just don't appreciate you saying like, oh, come on. Of course she knows. I'm not convinced she does.
Look, I've asked her if she wants it back, and she said it's fine. So I just have it.
That's her giving up. That's her
Yeah.
note. She knows like it's not coming back. So why fight this battle?
She's like, it's fine. I was like, okay, well, it'll be here until you want it back.
You're just holding on to it for her,
Holding on to it.
keeping it warm. Try to give it back in the middle of summer. It's like, well, I don't need it now. This is
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah, I don't even know what's on here. Fire department 85. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
Anybody?
was just curious. I
Yeah.
just never know. I never know what message is on your shirt, what you know, company you're representing at the moment. So tonight's a fire department.
There we go.
There you
And
go.
our backgrounds are like the same this time tonight.
Yeah, mine's a little cooler, but I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm not trying to brag, but you are like one side of your wall is nothing. It looks like someone started painting. It's like I'm good, and just kind of gave up.
So if I move it,
That's much better. Look at that. Ooh,
I like,
in
I like it facing
in show
myself.
improvements. Well, now it's the same.
I like, but then you can't really see it. I'm like blocking it.
But I think it like radiates behind you. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you're trying to compete with mine, you can't. So, anyways, not a big deal. That means that I do have three lights here, and you have one of my lights.
One of yours that I finally started using.
I didn't want to say that, but for a while, I'm like, huh, still a blank background. That's
Although,
weird.
although when I moved and this is my new setup against this wall, I'm like, this is way better, because where I was in my old apartment, it was like a big long hallway and there was nowhere to put it. So,
True. Very true.
so this is
So, yeah, it looks nice. I'm giving you a hard time, but I've told you many times it looks good. So, I'm glad that we're really stepping it up.
we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little,
So,
little quirk we have going.
that was a rough one. I could feel that little like dead air moment that you were going to try to segue it. And I'm like, here we go. And
I
you
was
did.
gonna segue it at the very beginning. I was gonna segue it, but then I didn't. I was like, that's too soon. I need to wait.
Too soon. So then we waited for the awkward pause. And it's like, this is a quirk, huh? Like, oh, geez. We've been doing this too long, Deb.
Or yes.
That would be the worst thing ever. It's like, oh, you do a podcast? Cool. How long have you been podcasting? Almost 5 years. Huh. Really? I would have thought maybe 5 weeks with the way you guys behave on this show.
5 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You and I podcasting together. Huh.
Almost, I think it's almost exactly, no, we're a little over 5 years now.
You are, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's
Pretty
crazy.
crazy. Pretty crazy. Still doing it. Still haven't killed each other. So there's been opportunities, you know, not really. At least not from my side. Maybe Deb's wanted to just get rid of me, but I'm still here. So plus I'm the one who kind of controls all of this, the publishing of the podcast. So there's only so much Deb could do. But you could bash me on social media and the podcast. Like this whole thing's a fraud. This guy sucks. You could. Maybe one day that's where we'll end up. I don't know. We'll look back at this moment and think he called it. It was only a matter of time.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, okay. I was expecting a little bit more. See, this is what I'm talking about, everybody. This is a real possibility. I thought she would have had some kind of words of like warmth and encouragement. Like, no, I would never do that. We've been good partners in this thing. And she's like, yeah, maybe. Real psychopath. Someone who's done their homework on Netflix and whatever other streaming platform you use for your murder documentaries.
I've been watching way too many murder documentaries. I've been listening to way too much true crime. I don't know.
Like podcasts?
Yes, every day I listen to an episode.
Okay, so hold on. So just we'll get to the quirks in a second, but so there's like a your day could be okay, you're off work, you're
Yeah.
driving home, you're listening to a
Oh,
true
oh,
crime.
I think we got to start at the beginning in the morning when I wake up.
Okay, I was gonna give you I wasn't gonna go all the way back, but okay. So I don't need to know your whole routine. Like I don't like I have my coffee, I meditate. I don't need to know any of that. We're just talking about what you listen to and what you watch. So in the morning, what are you listening to?
On the way to work, my true crime.
Okay. You get to work. I'm assuming that you're not listening to anything there. Maybe on your prep period.
When I go running on my prep, or when I did go running, I can't do anything right now with my
Bad
AD.
hip, old lady. Okay, so what is the so when you were running though, what were you listening to?
True crime.
True crime. Okay. And then you drive home and you're listening to
Right.
true crime. And you get home and let's say it's not a day you have a massage or you're not going anywhere. You're just at home, you're done for the night. You're popping on like a murder doc or something.
Well, if I'm like piddling around the house, like laundry and just doing busy work, I'll put Sex and the City on in the background where I like can't focus on it. But once I'm like seated and like, okay, I can sit and focus on something, I'm putting on a true crime doc.
Okay. I don't want to like leave a black mark on your business, but this would concern me if this woman on the other side of the Zoom meeting with me was giving me a massage after a full day of true crime because you never know when she's going to snap. That's really the biggest thing. It's like you might have a moment where it's a rough day at school, your kids were awful, you're going to lose your mind. You had that one bad email from the parent right before you got to the massage session, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to strangle someone. And that poor victim that's on the table is the victim. It's like they didn't do anything. There's no connection, and that's what's going to happen on this true crime story of Deb McCollum, serial massage killer. It's going to be person, wrong place, wrong time, wrong table. They got just because you had a bad day and you watched too many of these shows. That's how it's going to play out. Mark my words, timestamp it. If it happens, I mean, you don't have to call me a genius. Just say Josh was right.
Well,
See, Deb, like I said before, only like 5 minutes ago, Deb leaves a little bit of doubt. Well, you know, I can appreciate the authenticity in your response because it's not, you're not trying to be fake. You're like, I mean, there's an opportunity. If an opportunity comes up, might happen.
I don't know if it's a female thing. I heard it's a female thing that not all females, obviously, but I heard the majority of true crime watchers are women.
I've heard that as well. I feel like we haven't really talked about that in depth on this show, but I think we've mentioned it a little bit. My wife, though, not one of them. She wants no part of that.
Well, that's how I used to be. I don't know how it started. I don't know how I started. I don't know. I don't know when, but I was just like, huh, this is interesting. And I think I'm just desensitized now. And now I'm just want to know all the things.
Sure.
I think it fascinate. Wow. I think it fascinates me.
Hey,
I think it,
I happens to me every podcast, so I'm not going to judge that one.
I think it fascinates me that these things actually happened. And I'm just like,
Sure.
so yeah. Anyway, it's my entertainment. Well,
It,
sad, so it's not entertaining, but
well, we'll
it's
just edit that out.
keeps my day keeps my day busy.
You know what was hilarious? I saw this show. It's called Making a Murder. I'm like, oh, really? That's what it sounded like. You're It's your entertainment. It's like Deb treats this like stand-up comedy. It's like, this was a hilarious documentary where everybody got murdered.
I almost treat it as like I'm trying to solve the crime, because like the way it's played out is usually like, to the viewer, you're trying, like they're keeping, like they're holding the end of like who did it or what happened or how the person got caught. And I'm always like, throughout the whole thing, I'm trying to figure out, okay, it must be this person. And then it's like, no, that person's name got cleared. And I'm like, well, how the hell is it? Okay, it must be this person. Or it's like keeps my mind busy. I think that's what it is. It's like a puzzle.
Okay. So how many times do you get to the end of it and you're like, dang, that was disappointing and obvious?
Um, maybe half, maybe a little over half the time. It's obvious, but there was one of them that I watched. I was like, never saw it coming. I was
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, American Nightmare, and I didn't know it's a popular. A lot of people have probably seen it, the ones that like true crime at least, but I didn't know the story ahead of time. And usually, like the ones that are popular, like people have heard about it, or they've happened recently. I didn't hear about it, so when I watched it, I was like sure who did it, and then at the end, I was like, oh my god, it was great. Not great, like it was awful what happened. No one died, so that was good.
Oh, okay, good.
But like, so like the victims actually like told their story, so it was just very interesting. Yeah,
Interesting.
it was crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Like people, I mean, I remember when that show or that podcast Serial came out for the
Mhm.
first time, and however many years, it was quite a few years ago. And that was a big deal. It's like, what is this? And people were hooked on that. I tried. I'm like, nah, it's not for me. I'm going back to my sports podcast and comedy podcast. And then it just kind of blew up from there, I feel. But I'm not really a documentary person. I know people that love docs, not really my thing. In fact, the one that I really loved, and I'm trying to think, I really haven't done that many, but it was The Last Dance, the
Oh,
the Michael
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Well, it's sports, so
Yeah, it
that's
was
true.
awesome. I love that one. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, but
You
yeah,
would
I'm
like
not
you would like the Aaron Hernandez. Well, Aaron Hernandez would be a little sports and true crime. So
sure. Yeah, I know how that one ends, but yeah, that's a rough story. Rough story. Um, but yeah, maybe I'll check that one out. Probably not, but maybe. You never know.
I was only fascinated on that one just to see like the behavioral changes and like the brain scans and stuff. That part, me and my kinesiology, like that part
Sure.
fascinating. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Sad.
makes sense. Oh no, it's a very rough. That whole thing is just rough. Um, the one that this is not, it was a mockumentary that I watched. And I'm not sure if we ever talked about this or if I've asked you if you've seen this. It was on Netflix. I'm sure it still is. American Vandal. Did you ever watch that? Okay. It's a mockumentary. So it came out around the time when those documentaries started getting really big. And it's about a high school kid, a high school campus where someone is just going around drawing penises on everything and they're trying to figure it out. It's hilarious. It's really well done. It was a big show for a while. I'm surprised you hadn't heard of this, especially being a teacher. Like they did a really good job with it, and it was an interesting. Like it kind of. I'll say this. I don't know if you plan on watching it, but towards the end, it takes a little bit of a turn where I wasn't expecting as far as the tone of the show. But initially, it's very funny.
What, American Vandal?
American Vandal. I think it's still on Netflix. I think there's two seasons. It's the first season is the one that's good. Two different stories, but yeah, it's like we were like
Nice.
my wife and I watched it together and we were just like laughing so
I
much
love
initially.
I love a good mockumentary.
Yeah, only one I've watched, but yeah, me too. So
I'll have to check it out.
yeah, all right. Well, you know what?
And
That's a
check out
quirk
one
of
of
this
my,
podcast. We never get
yeah,
to our topic on time or
yeah.
right away. So here we go. I'm not even sure. It's probably about like 15 minutes and we haven't even started. So, uh, Deb,
Yes.
what's our topic today?
Our topic is quirks, not to be confused with pet peeves. Quirks. Here's how so because someone I was asking someone today about like what's their quirk, and their answer, I forgot what their answer was, but it was more, I was like, no, that's a pet peeve. A quirk, what did I say? A quirk is like something that's odd or weird. To me, like if I could define it quickly, and a pet peeve is irritating. Does
Yes.
she defined was irritating, and she goes, "Oh," and then she said something else that was more of a quirk.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty good because I actually pulled up the definition, and a quirk is a peculiar behavioral habit.
yeah,
So you were actually pretty close with
ah,
your own definition. But yeah, I agree. It was at first when I started doing it, I'm like, okay, I got to be careful because I feel like I'm starting to dip into the pet peeve territory.
yeah,
Because and I guess I never really thought about it, but there is a similarity between the two. But I do think quirk would be something that someone would look at you and think, huh, that was that's
right.
interesting.
Like it's not irritating. Like I'm not like annoyed. It's just like interesting. Like oh, like something to be noted.
Right. And more often than not, it's something that you like it says you do as part of your mindset or your behavior, right? It's something that like rather like a pet peeve is something that someone else does
Yeah,
usually or something that's happens that annoys you. This one is more something that you do that is maybe more unique,
yeah.
than normal situations. So, uh, if you're new to the podcast, we do these every once in a while. We like to mix it up. If you listen for any amount of time, you'll know that we kind of go all over the place. But we do have some like standard things that we do. We like to do top 5 episodes. We like to do pet peeve episodes. We like to do, you know, uh, what do we call them? Like thing episodes, like movie things, romantic comedy. That was a fun one. The rom com episode was a lot of fun. We mix it up, but this is one of the ones that we do from time to time, top fives. So we thought it'd be fun to do top 5 quirks. Get a little more personal, We're okay with it. You can judge us if you want. Some of these, I'm sure you'll be like, this person sounds like a psychopath. But you know what? That's what we do. We wanted to share some of our pet peeves, and then also, once we go through ours, we have some. I got some from Instagram. Deb, I know you got some from Instagram and your friends. So we'll put those out there as well. So, and one final housekeeping thing. Deb and I have been talking this year of the podcast. We definitely want to do more questions out there for everybody who listens. I know that's one of the questions that we got today from my side of it were people who are regular listeners, and so we want to involve you guys more. So especially with these top fives, maybe some of the pet peeves, some of like the thing episodes that we do, we want to get more people involved. So just keep an eye on that as we move forward. We'll try to put those out the day before and the day of the day we record it, the day before and the day of recording. So, anyways, enough with the housekeeping. Let's get into the quirks. So, Deb, do you want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, and again, yeah, and I think these are quirks. I think you can tell me, or maybe they're normal or whatever.
We'll
But
be the judge of that.
maybe a lot of people are have this quirk. But I before I go to bed at night, I have to have not my entire apartment clean or anything, although it's pretty tidy because I'm never home. But I have to have no dishes in the sink, and I have to have the counters cleared and wiped down
Hmm.
before I go to bed. Like I have to, or else I'm like I'm not settled. Like that's the last thing I check. Make sure that's all good. Like I mean, there could be clothes in the dryer. I don't care. There could be like there my bathroom could be a little messy. I don't care, but my kitchen has to be clean. I
I
don't
like
know.
it.
I don't know. It helps me sleep better at night. I don't know if it's because when I wake up in the morning and I go to make coffee, it's like, like it's all clean. So maybe that's more of an OCD thing, but I think it's a quirk. But that's that's the first one I could think of.
I like it. I'm a fan of it. Does it always happen here? Not really, but I'm a fan of that idea. So yeah, so that probably see that's an interesting one as far as being a quirk, right? Because I bet you I wouldn't say it's 50. Well, maybe it's 50-50. You probably have some people that they're like, that's not a quirk, that's just normal. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. And then some people are like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a quirk because my sink is not mine personally, but our like the sink is full of dishes, stuff's all over the counter, and the idea of someone every single night clearing the counter, washing the dishes, getting it all set up for the is like that's crazy. So I bet you that one is probably fairly divisive, not divisive, but probably like straight down the middle, 50-50.
Could be normal at work, could be a quirk depending on who you talk to, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. It really depends on who you're talking to, but I would think that counts as a quirk for sure.
Yeah.
Well, especially because I think it affects not to make it a more serious thing, but like you said, it does affect your mindset.
Yeah.
too. So it's not just like a, hey, it's kind of this weird thing, but like you are kind of prepping yourself for the next day, like you said. And I could imagine if that's your mindset going into an evening or going into bed, if you forgot to do it the next morning, if you saw stuff on the counter, that would not set you up necessarily for the best day.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
automatic chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My chaos. Cool.
All right. That's a good one. Okay. Let me see. I've got a few here. I've got five, one extra if we have time. Uh, okay. So I'm gonna do this one because I feel like it's similar. And my wife actually brought this one up because I was having a tough time at a certain point. Like, what are my quirks? I know I've got a ton, but what are they? Sometimes with these quirks, they're easier to spot from the outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone else points them out. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good call. This one, kind of in the same vein as what you're saying. Not dishes, but anytime I get back from a trip, a vacation, anything where I've packed bags, when I get home, I have to unpack. This is not a situation, and I don't care. I don't care what time it is. I don't care how busy it is. I don't care what I have to do when I get home. Like I have to unpack everything. I can't just put the bag down and say, I'll get to it later. Not going to happen because the whole time I'm doing other things, I'm going to be thinking about that stupid bag that needs to be unpacked. So when I get home from those places, obviously make sure the kids are good. As soon as the kids are good and they're set, I'm unpacking everything, throwing the dirty clothes where they're supposed to go, hanging stuff up, putting jackets away, toothbrushes, all that stuff. It's got to go back. And I have to do it immediately. Otherwise, it's going to hang over my head like a dark cloud, just raining terror down on my life. That's how I feel. And so, yeah, is it a weird quirk? My wife looks at me like, you're a psychopath. Like, why? We just walked in. I'm like, I know, but it's sitting there. I got to get it out of there. Otherwise, I feel like I'm not really home yet. So that's my weird quirk.
Nice. I feel like that falls in line with my kitchen counter clean because
That's
all
all,
the
that's why I brought it up. I feel like it's kind of the same thing.
yeah. Well, no, that's I mean, yeah, because there are when I come home from work, I'll take my lunch, I'll unpack my work stuff, right? But on a trip, like if there's a suitcase, I'm like 50-50. Like if I have energy, I'll do it and if I'm in the mood. But if I'm exhausted, I mean, I'm just gonna take out my toiletries so I could shower or whatever, and then that's it. And I'm leaving that suitcase wherever I want until I get to it.
Oh, see, that would not be me because I'll tell you what, this is a weird thing because you talk about being exhausted. Well, okay, here's a good example. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but my family and I were coming back from our annual vacation to the beach. And I mean, 4 or 5 hours away from our home, my wife's car had a pretty urgent message flashing. And so we pulled over. Uh, it turned out to be a pretty big deal, and there's no way we would have been able to make it home. And so we were basically stuck in the middle. We were stuck in a town, but it was like in the middle of nowhere. And so, it took a while. It was the day before Thanksgiving. So a lot of the shops are either completely packed or they're just not operating. We finally found a place to go. We got out of there way, way, way later than we normally would have. And so we got home. Normally we would get home at like 6,
Yeah.
5:36. This time we got home at like almost midnight.
Oh,
Didn't matter. It was a stressful day. It was a crazy day. When I got home and everybody was settled, I unpacked my bags because like I feel like for me, even when I'm exhausted and tired, I don't fully feel it until the bag's unpacked. I think once the bag's unpacked and then I sit down, it's like, oh, now I feel tired. But it's like the energy is always going to be there until that stupid bag's unpacked. I don't think there's ever a point where I would be so tired like, oh, I wouldn't want to do it. I have a
yeah.
problem. It's a quirk.
That's how I feel about my kitchen. I get it.
See, there we go.
No way.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
It felt good to let that out too. Let the world
Yeah,
know.
there you
Yeah.
go. Good. Those are in the same realm. I like it. I'm gonna go to my second one.
Hmm.
So my next one is I will rotate trying new, I like to call them eating habits. My friends call them crazy diets. I try new things. Like I've done rounds of macro counting. I did an animal-based diet over the summer and throughout the fall. I tried my macro counting again one time. I'll just like go through these phases where I'm like zoned in, like zeroed in on it. Like I'm gonna do this, and I'll even like go to a restaurant and try to stick with it if I go out. So again, I think that's a quirk. This whole list, I'm like, is that a quirk? I don't know. Is it? I think it is, but I'm just gonna say it is. So I will go through these eating habits where I will switch it up and I'll try new things. And it's like I feel like it's an every like once a year thing or every other year thing. I'll go through it for a few months or so. But um
Interesting.
yeah, so and I'm only bringing it up because I will get shit from my friends. They'll be like, "Are you macro counting again?" And I'll be like, "Yeah," and they just roll their eyes. They're like, "Oh my god!" And they're like, "You like fine?" I'm like, "It's not about how I look. I want to do it. I just want to do it. I'm teaching myself something, how to either eat better or like whatever, learn something." And so when I went through my animal, I got more shit than anything else when I went through my animal-based diet over the summer.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if
And
you
throughout,
remember, but you came into a one podcast pretty hot and like,
yeah,
why is she so, you just
I'll,
seemed irritated. And then you said, why is got this text or whatever it was, phone call. I'm like, oh, okay. Cause you
oh
came in very
god.
hot to the podcast.
Yeah, so I'll get like zoned in on it and I try not to bring other people into it because I'm like, this is my thing. I don't need to like involve anybody else. But then people will ask me about it and then I'll say what I'm doing. And then they'll be like, why? And I'll be like, because I want to. And then they start saying why I shouldn't do it. And that's when I get fired up. I'm like, don't tell me like, you're the one who asked me
Did I ask for your
why.
opinion? It's one of those. All right.
You're right. So I think that was that situation. I'm like, leave me alone. Let me live my life. This doesn't affect you.
Oh, no, no. I remember very clearly because you came in hot. We
Yeah.
did the podcast, and then you basically, when we ended the call, you're like, I got to get back to this text thread that I'm dealing with right now. I'm like, geez. So you're just like trying to get to the podcast. Just like I'm in the middle of the battle, Josh. I don't have time for this conversation. I'm at war.
So dumb, but I'll get zoned in. I'm not on one right now in particular. But
Is one coming up? Are you due for one?
no, no, I'm just right now, I'm just focused on making sure that I'm not eating like crazy amounts of food or fried food because I'm not really exercising right now. I'm trying to find a
Bad
different
hip.
bad hit, which I have an update on. But anyway, but yeah, so that's right now, that's my focus is like, ugh, careful what you eat right now. I mean, obviously I'm still eating, but I'm eating more like lighter foods rather than my breakfast brunch burgers and
Like
tons
soup. Is
of
that like the episode of The Office?
salads.
Yeah, let's get a nice soup.
Yeah, and salads.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think because like you said, that is that a quirk or not? I think
Yeah.
on the surface you could say it's not, but I think what makes it kind of quirky is the fact that you're not doing it for to like lose weight or to get in a certain kind of shape. Because I think if that was the case, it's like the yo-yo dieting thing, right? Is that right? Where you just kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
You're doing
Uh,
it, you're not doing it. But the focus is you're trying to get into shape. I think the quirkiness of this one, which so I still consider it a quirk, but I think what makes it quirky is that you're like, I don't know, I just was kind of interested in this, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Like, oh, okay. But there's like not really like a health reason or like not like a trying to get in shape. No, I just thought it was interesting. I mean, obviously it has health benefits and stuff like that, but
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's
There's,
quirk.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the main motivation is like a healthier lifestyle, but the focus isn't because I want to lose weight or because so I can feel better or so, whatever but it is health focused, but it's also like, it's almost like I wonder what will happen. Like
Sure.
mentally, physically, like, will I feel different? So yeah, I'm so weird. I'm the only one of my friends that does stuff like this. And I think that's why I think it's a quirk.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it sounds quirky once you describe it, and it's not just for, uh, like I said, trying to lose weight or something like that. Like that's just something I think everybody does. They go through phases, right? And that's why some people, can't stick with it very long because it's not sustainable. Some of the diets and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, no, I would consider that a quirk because it sounds like a very specific reasoning why you do it. So it
Yeah.
counts. Put it on the board.
Okay.
Okay. You know what? Let's go. I'll stay with the food thing. Very different than what you're saying, but I'm gonna stick with a food theme. Okay. So this doesn't happen as much anymore because with kids, it's we're eating at the dinner table together as a family. So this is not really the case anymore. But specifically before kids, my wife and I would, eat in the living room, dinner and stuff like that, and watch shows, movies, things like that. And and anytime, even now, if I find myself in that situation, one of the things that I just can't do is I refuse to start the movie or the show until like I'm fully set with my food and drink. So if I gotta check, like, okay, do I have everything? I have a napkin, fork, cool. Is everything on my plate? Oh, I forgot hot sauce. Gotta go back. Don't even think about pressing play on the TV because I'm not ready to go yet. Like I don't feel like I am. It's like a this weird like you're not allowed to start this thing until you are fully set. You know what I mean? That's to me that's a quirk. But I'm like, and again, it doesn't apply to other people. It's really a situation where, like, just for me, if like basically if I was with my wife, we were watching a show and she was watching it, I could run over and grab something. But like, I guess really, if it was like me by myself and no one else is affected by what I'm doing, I just cannot start anything. And I not only that, but then the like I just don't feel right eating either until everything's good. Got to be set up.
That way you can focus on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, is it something I've probably seen a million times? Yeah, probably. But still, I want to focus. So
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like I'm because I feel like I can't focus. I feel like ours are kind of a little similar because when I have Sex in the City on and it's my background noise, or if I have The Office on, it's because I'm doing things. But if I'm doing things, I can't focus on, and maybe that, I mean, I can't focus on the storyline. So I have to sit down and be paying attention. But unlike you, like if I don't have all my things, I'm like, whatever, just start it. Let me go grab this thing. I'm listening. Go grab it, sit down. So for you, you're like, no, pause it, rewind it. Like we got to start it over.
Oh, the rewinding wouldn't even happen because it would never start. There's we wouldn't even like cross the starting line. It's like, nope, make sure we're all good first and then go. And then once the movie starts, so like say, I don't know, say it was like pizza or something, right? Grab a couple slices, start the show or the movie. If I need to get up and get like more food, that's not a problem. I'm not gonna stop the movie for that. It's just the initial like kickoff. You know what I mean? It's like in football. You make sure everybody's set. Put the ball on the tee to kick off. If the ball's on the ground, you can't kick off. It's like we gotta make sure everything's right. Then kick it off. Game started. Let's go.
Ready.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have Rachel trained in this department. She just waits for you.
Oh, it was like I said. The more I think about it, it really like I would never do that when someone else is involved.
Oh, so it's only when you're in the room.
The more I think about it, like
Oh,
for
gotcha.
example, like if I was by myself
Okay.
eating, which like I said, because we were eating as a family, there aren't too many times where I'm like just at home eating by myself. Like, it's not a
Yeah.
common thing these days. So really it's yeah, I don't subject anybody else to this. It's just me. Like if it's me, I'm gonna watch something, I'm eating, yeah, I do that. But like I said, if Rachel and I were getting ready to watch something, we're gonna have some food. I'm like, hey, I'll even tell her, like, hey, go ahead and start it. I'll be there in a second. It's only when it's me,
Mm.
which adds to the quirkiness of the whole situation. So
Yes, that makes it way more quirky.
yeah, no, I could never do that to someone else. That's like that seems controlling and psychopathic.
This whole time I'm picturing Rachel just sitting there with the remote, like waiting for you, like, okay,
No,
waiting for you back. Are you ready? Okay,
it's like
cool.
don't start it yet. This is like this crazy voice comes out.
Good. Okay.
No,
Well,
I don't do it to anybody else. Like you can ask her. I don't do that. I usually say go for it, and then I run to the other room to take my contacts out, and then So it's almost like the exact opposite when someone's there. So
oh,
yeah, start it whenever you want. Halfway through the movie, I'll be there. When it's just me, it's like it's time to focus, get the food ready, sit down. Nothing will be consumed or started until we're all good.
cool.
Yeah,
Good,
there you go.
good one.
What's your next one?
It's one more food related one.
All right.
I can eat the same thing for a meal like every day for a long time. Like,
Ah,
you
okay.
know, I actually like it. Well, I mean, I guess that's what meal prep is, right? But I don't know what the normal, I don't know how often people switch up their meal preps. I don't know. But when I find something for, and I guess I'm talking specifically like lunches to take to work, dinners
Sure.
are do different things for dinners, and usually out with friends at happy hour, or like I just do whatever. I grab like a salad or something or a burger. But for lunch, I like if I find a thing and I make it, I will make it for like months until I'm tired of it or until I feel like switching it up. And my coworkers are always like, "Do you eat the same thing for lunch every day?" Because I'll look at all their stuff and they're switching it up. They have something different, or at least they rotate through
Sure.
the same thing every. So I'm only bringing these things up because I see other people around me that don't do it that way. So I'm like, this must be my quirk. So will literally, and it just makes it easier because I'm like, I know I like it, I know how to make it, which is like, I don't cook, so obviously it's got to be simple, but I know it keeps me full, I know it doesn't make my tummy hurt like while I'm at work, like I know these things, so I will just stick with it, and I won't switch it up until, I don't know, it like at this point I think for, so my lunches right now that I'm making are basically still like animal based food, and I've been doing that since last summer. So I've been
Oh,
doing
okay.
lunches for like 8 months now at this point.
So what does that include?
So just ground beef, soft boiled egg, um, and then it would include fruit, but then I've switched out fruit for, I put some more carbs in because I wasn't doing a ton of carbs and I was feeling kind of like weak in my workouts and in my runs, and I noticed it. So now I put brown rice and like a piece of a sweet potato in there.
Hmm.
So, and that's it, and I'm good.
It's a pretty solid lunch.
But
That was pretty tasty.
I'll break it up into two mini meals. So I'll have one mid morning for like a late breakfast because I don't eat breakfast like while I'm getting ready, like I can't. And then I have my other half for like we have a late lunch, like our bell schedule.
Sure.
So two of them. So anyway,
All right,
that's
good. I'm glad you said that because internally I was judging you. Like that's all of that together sounds disgusting. Uh, so I'm glad you break it up the way you. I don't know how you break it up. Doesn't really matter. I'm glad you break it up a little bit though because I'm like that seems like a horrible mixture of food. So good.
it's good. Have you ever had a loco moco?
Excuse me.
You know what a loco moco
I
is?
have no idea what that is. Never heard of that.
So it's like a popular brunch food, like Hawaiian, I guess. Brunch food, brunch. It's basically, so a loco moco is hamburger with rice and then egg on top of it. And that's basically what I make myself every day.
Okay, let's not bad. But then you throw the sweet potato in.
That's the best part. I eat it like separately, but I put it's in the container with everything, but I eat it. I don't like mix it in with it.
That's what was. I'm not gonna lie. That was throwing me a little bit. The
Yeah.
other stuff, it kind of makes sense when you throw that sweet potato in. It's like, oh, she's really
It's
just
like
going for it.
a log. It's like a half of a sweet potato, and it's just in there, so I don't have to have a separate container for it. And I heat it all up in there, but I eat it separately. Like I take it out
Hey,
and I
you know
eat.
what? Even if you ate it with it and you just mashed it in there, no judgment here. I would just, I didn't want to say anything, but then you brought it up. So I'm like, all right, good. She splits it up. So, ooh, okay.
It's good. It's really good.
I was like, there's that. I forgot exactly what's in it, but it was like monster mash or monster something. I saw it on some like athletic website, and it's one of those like super simple, easy meals for athletes where it's got a bunch of rice, a bunch of ground beef, and there's one other thing in there, and you just kind of mix it all up, and it just gets all of the calories in there that you would
Yeah.
need. Yeah, if you're trying to gain weight, especially, it's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah. I'm definitely trying to gain weight.
You're going back to your powerlifting days,
Yeah.
or powerlifting or bodybuilding. What did you do?
Powerlifting.
Powerlifting. Okay, powerlifting. Going back to the powerlifting days.
Bodybuilding sounds just horrendous, and I respect anybody who does it. I will never want to do bodybuilding. I did research on it one time. I didn't think about doing it, but I was just curious. I was like, what does it take? Just because I was in the powerlifting world.
Sure.
I'm not built for that life. That is like that's some dedication. It's not, to me, it sounds a little dangerous, but I don't know if anyone else, I don't know. I know we've talked to some bodybuilders on our podcast
We've had a
before.
decent amount on here.
Right. And they've said their stories and stuff. And I'm sure, and people can do it in a safe way and stuff, but there's no way I could not do that.
That's what Deb says now until she gets into one of her quirky meal things, diet things. All of a sudden, I was like, I'm considering bodybuilding. Maybe.
I don't know.
It
Well,
seems awful to me. It's not the world I would want to live in.
uh,
Um,
to get that physique and the things they have to do.
yeah,
So,
no, I will pass. I'm just trying to get rid of my belly. So, and it's difficult enough. So, that was yours, right? Yep. Yeah, it was
yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is one. Um, for me, and this could sound like a pet peeve, but it's not meant to be because it doesn't bother me when people do this, but I have to do something about it, if that makes sense. So I have to turn off lights in rooms that are not being occupied at
Mhm.
like my house specifically. But if there's like a bedroom light on and no one's in there, I'm like, there's no reason for this light to be on. So I have to go turn it off. There's been multiple times like because of you've been to our house, so our you can from like the kitchen area to the kitchen table, you can see down the hallway. And like as I'm getting ready to sit down for dinner, I look down there and I see two lights on. I hustle down there, turn the lights off real quick, and it's very similar to the it's very similar to
Oh,
the dishes thing, right? Like just knowing there's two lights behind me, it's gonna drive me nuts. I can't see the light. Doesn't affect my life. Doesn't affect the lighting at my part of the table. But I just know it's on behind me. And like there's no reason for these lights to be on. So I'm gonna go turn them off. I just it's one of those things. So like I said, the pet peeve, I guess, would be I hate when people leave lights on. It's not that. Like I don't even care that they do that. It's not like who did this? It's more like, oh, there's two lights on. I'm gonna go flip those off real quick and then be done with it. So yeah.
oh my God. So my sister, I think my sister's, I don't know if she's still this way exactly. But when we were younger, so we would share a room and I like if we were both home, like I'd be in one room and let's say I'm using, I don't know, the bathroom and this, and using the sink and the mirror or whatever, and I'm not done with it, but I leave to go do something in the kitchen. I come back and the light's off. And I'm like, whatever, I turn it back on and like I'll go in the bedroom, turn the light off, and like I was always just moving around the house, like doing things. And every time I go back, the lights are off. And I remember at one point I was like, who's turning these lights off? I'm still using this room. My sister would be like, oh, I did. Why do you have it on? I'm like, I'm using it. And me and my sister would get in fights because she would follow me around and turn things off. And I'm like, I'm not done with that. I'm going back in. Don't turn the light off.
Man, that sounds like the person at the gym who's using six different, sets of dumbbells and like five pieces of equipment. It's like you're doing all of this. Like, yeah, that's part of my circuit. Like, you can't do this. This is nonsense. It's a crowded gym. So it sounds like to me.
This is why I live alone. I could have all the lights on I want, do whatever I want.
Just before you go to sleep at night. All the
Yeah.
lights on, just because I can.
Yeah, but I remember that happening a couple of times, especially like the older we got and we were teenagers. And I had such a bad attitude. And my sister was easy as a teenager. She was so sweet. I was a nightmare. So I was like a raging, like just always angry, like going through hormonal changes so bad. So I remember like just screaming at her, like, stop turning my lights off. I'm not done with that room.
Okay. There we go.
That's what that reminded me of. So my sister has the same thing.
Well, shout out to your sister because that would drive me nuts too. That would be peeve territory for me. It's like, and very specific to you. It's like, I hate it when Deb turns on all the lights. It drive me nuts.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
There we go. It's mine.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. So when I am changing the volume on my TV, or if I'm changing the temperature in my car, it has to be on an even number. I
Okay.
don't, but it just does.
Rachel's like that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone that I was talking to tonight, she said that was her quirk, and I was like, oh, me too. I didn't think of it until she said it. I'm like, oh my God, I literally, I remember, yeah, it has to be an even number, turning the temperature in my car or the volume on my TV.
Yeah. I again, I think that's probably one that's probably more common,
And I
excuse me,
wonder,
more common than you think.
I don't know why, like, what does it matter? Like, I
I
don't
don't
even,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure someone's done an article on that. We could probably look that up.
so look at that.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, there probably is some kind of reason behind it. I don't have that I don't think I have that too much. Yeah, it could be on,
And
61, 62,
no, no.
63.
And when I'm like, let's say someone calls me in my car, my Bluetooth, and on my steering wheel, I have the controls for like the volume of how loud like the speaker is. That speaker has to be on an even number as well.
Interesting.
Have the numbers and it'll say like, 22, 21, 20, like it'll say what number it's on for volume. That has to be on an even number too.
Interesting.
Oh, I don't know why. I don't know when it started. I have no idea. I'll have to look that article because it's not just me.
Now, is that just when you're driving? Or I'm
I'm
sorry, I'm sorry. That's how I meant, because you
so
talk
I
about
get
the like when it's like, so if you're driving your car, or if you're at your house and you kind of have control of the TV, but like if you're at someone else's house, or if you were in someone else's car,
no.
so you don't have like that urge to just like turn the knob.
Don't care. Nope. Nope. It's just when I'm at my place or in my car.
Okay, so it has to be yours.
Yes.
Okay, because that would be weird.
Right. That'd be even
Just like,
quirky.
just turn it one more. You
That would
couldn't have
be
done
the,
that.
and not, it'll turn into a pet peeve with my friends. They're like, stop touching why are you touching my volume? Get
See,
away.
that's a very fine line we're dancing here.
Yeah.
Pet peeve, quirk. It's very
Right.
similar. All right, that's a good one. I
I
like
guess
it.
a quirk can turn into someone else's pet peeve.
If you do it enough, sure. Yeah, it's like if, well, I mean, your sister, I bet I have a pretty good idea which one of her pet peeves would be. The
Mhm.
lights. And some of your friends that drive with you, it's like, Deb's always turning the stupid knob. Just leave it at 61, or just leave it at, she can't do it. So yeah, you're right. They can turn into someone else's pet peeves. Absolutely. All right, let's see what I've got. Okay, so for me, I, and again, this is something more with when I'm with my wife. Um, but we get to movies really early. And uh, I know some people are like, why would you get there so early? I'm like, there's a bunch of reasons, but I prefer getting there early. Even, years ago, right? Because most theaters have assigned seating now where you buy a ticket for a specific seat. And so it doesn't really apply as much now, but there's still reasons why I want to get there early. And eh, I'm not even someone that's like, we need to get to places as early as possible. I'm not that person, but for whatever reason with movies, I just like getting there. Back in the day, like I said, you get there early so you can get the seat that you want when it's not assigned. And then even now when it's assigned, I just don't like the idea of getting to a movie later and then having to cross in front of people, disrupt their setup, the whole thing. I just don't really like that. So we, especially, back in the day when my wife and I were dating, we would get to movies so early where there was a couple times where we would get there so early that the pre-show stuff hadn't even started, like
Wow.
30 minutes before the movie. It's just like a black screen. We're just sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, welcome to the movies, and then they start showing like all the pre-show stuff. I'm like, oh, we were here very early. And so um I don't know what it is. I just prefer getting to those things a lot earlier. But some people are like, I no way. Like I said, now we've taken our kids to a couple movies. uh, then you're playing a different game. And I think anybody who has kids knows that, especially with younger kids, like there is a fine line between getting there early enough to get them set up and then getting there too early where it increases the chances of them having to go to the bathroom or just getting a little bit squirrely. So it's different when we're with the kids, but I still tend to get to movies pretty early.
Have you ever gotten to the movies where the was already playing?
Yes.
I bet that drove you nuts.
Yeah, it was like it goes back to my food one. It's like, why is everybody already eating? Just yelling at people at the movie theater. Don't eat that popcorn.
Yeah.
No, I think yeah, it happened a couple times, and you know, it doesn't drive me. I'll say this, it doesn't drive me nuts. Like I'm not panicked. I'm pretty laid back, so I'm not like tapping my foot the whole time. It's like we're gonna be late. We're gonna be late. Plus, we really enjoy movies, so we also know that you know you have like a certain amount of time while the trailers are still running. So it's like you have a little leeway there. But for me, the reason I don't like getting there late, especially, is because you're in people's way, and I just don't like having to cross over, especially because you have theaters now that have the reclining like footrest or leg rest. And so there's some theaters where you go to, it's kind of tight, and you just hate if anybody feels the need to like lower their footrest so you can get past. Like the whole thing I'm not a huge fan of. So um yeah, that's just me. I also like being in the back row of the theater.
Bro. Yeah.
Also, not to slide in another pet or not another quirk, but I'm going to. I don't at restaurants and like places where we're eating. I don't like having my back to like the room.
To the room.
I would prefer to be able to like to see everything. Maybe it's like the dad in me these days. But even prior to that, it's like I don't want anybody to get to jump on me. You know what I mean?
Kind of
Just
like
in
the
case
whole
Deb swings by, it's like, oh, I'm gonna strangle him because enough's enough. I'm done doing this podcast and just I like being able to see what's going on. Like I like having my like face to the door. You know what I mean? I don't like having my back to everybody.
yeah. It's a very yeah, that's a very protective thing for sure. Like my dad's the same way. And like guys in general, I think are like that. They're like, I can't, I can't have my back to the door. You gotta switch spots with me. But then I'm like that too. So anytime in the past when I've gone on dates, it's like I'm like, I want to sit here, and they're like, no, let me sit there. And I'm like, I don't want my back to the door either. I don't trust you. I don't know who you are.
So
I don't
you
know if
guys,
you'll save us. I'll save us.
so then instead of sitting like this, you guys sit on the sides of the tables. So that way it's like, all right, fine. We each have one eye on the door. It's a good compromise.
Yeah, that's funny. That's it. Yeah, that's a quirk. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I kind of hijacked that one, double dip there, but yeah, early to the movies.
Okay, early moves. Okay, I think this is my last one. I think this is number 5. But and again, a friend brought this up tonight for hers, and it reminded me. And I'm like, I swear I'm not copying you, but I do the same thing. But I like when I go to the same grocery store or my work, or if I'm going somewhere in a parking lot, I have to park in the same spot or area. Like
Oh,
the same grocery store that I frequent, like I like a certain row that I park in, and I get annoyed if they're all taken. I'm like, ugh, I gotta go in the other side. Like I don't want to park. I don't want to face that way parking. I want to face this way.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. Now I don't do that, but I can understand that. I can understand that.
So I don't know. Someone brought that up tonight, and I was like, that's so funny because I do the same thing. I just like it made me realize. So yeah, I park in the same area. So these are things that I don't think about. I just do them. But when she said that, and I'm like, I guess that is a quirk. I don't know,
I
but
think so. Well, especially if you're getting upset that people park in your spot.
you know,
Uh, it,
like it's not assigned to me or anything, but I just get upset. I'm like, why are they all taken? Why is everybody here?
you see Deb out there with spray paint. D. McCollum, like a teacher spot.
Right? Exactly.
You never know. Uh, and I don't want this to sound weird, but I have to acknowledge this because I think it's important. Very proud of you, Deb, because I feel like you were on the verge of saying what grocery store you went to, but you held back.
I
Maybe I'm
did.
wrong, but did you?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah, I could
say.
tell.
Oh,
And anybody who has not been a fan of the show for a while, you go back 2 or 3 years. Deb's like, this is where I park. This is the store I go to. This is when I go. This is what time of day I typically am there, and this is what I'm buying, and this is what I'm wearing today. She would have given all the details. Very proud of you that you held back, even though I could tell it was on the tip of your tongue and you almost did it.
I said I'm a changed woman.
Let's not
Trying.
go that far, but there's growth. Let's not get crazy.
So that was my last pet peeve, I think. I have more that I wrote down from other people, but for me, that's all I could think of. I'm sure I have many more.
Okay, so
Or
I
pet,
have
sorry, did I say pet peeve? I meant quirk.
I've
Quirk.
been doing the same thing all night. Pet
I think
peeve, pet quirk.
they know what we're talking about. Quirk.
Yeah, they know. they know what they're getting into in this podcast, so they know it's gonna be a little rough at moments. Okay, so I have one. I kept going back and forth, so I'm gonna say these real quick if you don't mind. So, one, I like to put my energy drinks, specifically my energy drinks, in the freezer before drinking them. I don't appreciate that face of judgment, but I'm going to continue on.
Doesn't explode.
It's funny you say that. So, has it happened? Yeah, a couple of times. Has it? Yes, it has. So, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, what I do is before I drink it, I'll put it in the freezer for a little while. You have to be careful which freezer you put it in. Like at home, I know I only it's a better freezer, so I have a certain amount of time where I got to make sure I get it out of there. At work, I'll do this at work. Not as great of a freezer. I know I have got a little more time, a little more leeway. Yes, can they explode? Yes, they can. And have they? Yes, they have. In fact, there was one morning where my mom was watching my kids, and I get a text while I'm at work. She's like, "Hey, did you forget an energy drink in the freezer?" And as soon as she said that, I said, "Oh no, I did. It was the night before, a long time." And then I didn't get a response to that. All I got was a picture of our freezer with icy energy drinks sprayed all over the place. I said, "Oh, pretty bad, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's a mess. Well done, dum dum." Thanks,
Did she
mom.
say that?
I mean, she didn't say dum dum, but she didn't text it, but she did say it later. We'll say that. Yeah, that's my mom. If you guys know my mom, you know
I
that's exactly what she would have said. So, yeah. And so she's like, "Yeah, nice job." She's like, "I tried to clean it up for you, but she's like, you're gonna have to do the rest because there's stuff everywhere and like cracks and crevices inside this freezer." So yes, they do explode, and it has happened before. But that being said, most of the time it doesn't. My track record is pretty good, and I just like it. I like that crisp feeling. Like, and I'm sure this is the same with you. Uh, when you get like an ice cold beverage out of like a ice chest, there's very few things that are better than that. Like just having that, like it has to be in ice. If it's in ice, the crack of the can, the whole thing, it's delicious. It's cool. You pull it out of the refrigerator, it's great. You pull it out of, you know, a cool, like a cooler, that's fine. But like when it's like deep buried in the ice chest and you pull it out, it's just it adds to the taste, at least in my opinion. So I try to recreate that feeling. It's like my microwave, right? I don't have time to put this in ice. So I put it in the freezer microwave.
heat up the
Sometimes
pot.
if you put food in the microwave too long, it explodes. It's the same thing, and it's happened. So yeah,
Lesson learned.
probably not. It's going to happen again, I'm sure. I'll forget. Okay, my
Mhm.
other thing, I'll say quickly, and this might be gross, but I don't think I'm alone on this. I like to think I'm a pretty clean person, but one thing that I don't really do is I don't really wash my hands before I eat. Like I don't make a point of like going to this thing. It's like, oh, it's mealtime. I'm gonna go wash my hands. Like I really don't do that. Like it has to be a pretty extreme circumstance for me to do that. Like if I like, back in the day, just change a diaper, yeah, I'm probably gonna wash some hands. If I was out in the backyard doing yard work and like the hands are gross and grimy, yeah. But like if I'm just doing like everyday stuff, like podcast equipment, typing, moving around the house, I'm probably not gonna wash my hands before I eat.
I don't know what to think about that. Because I
Feel
know,
free.
because I know I'm guilt. I probably don't either now that I think about it. But I do know that I wash my hands at work before I eat lunch because I'm around
Well, that's
kids,
different. That's
equipment,
different.
touching doorknobs. Kids get way too close to me. Like kids want to high five me. Like I try, I gotta wash my hands. For dinner at night, maybe I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's different. But see, I'm sure that your hands look a certain way, like during the day, right? Like I'm sure there's times your hands look pretty like dusty, dirty, dark from like picking up basketballs, picking up equipment. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I imagine that your hands look like they've been at work.
Feel gross too. They feel all like grimy and stuff.
See, and to me, that would be like a more extreme situation. I imagine I would probably wash my hands, and but that's very different. But I'll be honest, in my job, I'm at a keyboard. I'm at a computer. I'm typing, I'm, doing stuff like that. So I'm not really, it's not the same thing. Now, am I touching paperwork that other people have touched? Yeah, sure. But I'm not really that concerned about washing my hands before I eat.
Mm.
Now, I don't get sick very often either. Maybe there's a correlation.
You got a nice immune system from your dirty hands.
Well, I don't think you need to say it that way, but okay, sure. Yeah, fine. Makes sense.
Nice.
So, okay, that was like a little bonus, a little extra credit. So now we have some listener, listener, um, what's the word I'm looking for?
Your, I don't know, submissions.
Submissions. Thank you. Listener submissions. So, uh, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? I've got three.
I have so I have three submissions from the same person, but then I also have some in my notes from people I talked to like face to face today. So just like a couple more after that. Um and people I'm just thinking of that I know what their quirks are I wanted to share.
Okay.
But you want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah, let's go back and forth.
Okay, so on Instagram, Kaylin responded 3 different times. And what she had to say was first, she said, my entire personality is quirk, is what she said. Not mine, hers.
No, no,
Her
yeah,
own.
I understood.
And
Yeah. Okay.
then she said, no overhead lighting, only lamps allowed. So she doesn't like lights up here. She just wants lamp. Which I do that in my bedroom. I don't like I have a lamp, like a nightstand lamp, but I have a ceiling light. But I only turn the ceiling light on if I need to like look for something and I'm like, I can't, it's too dark in here. Otherwise,
Hmm.
the lamp is on and that's it. And I don't like it super bright in there ever.
Interesting. That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Right. And then her other one was, I'll just read her last one, then I'll let you do some of yours. She said, I will clean my entire apartment, but refuse to take out the trash. Which is true. I've walked into her apartment and there's trash bags next to her door. And
Okay.
she's like, I cleaned today. And I'm like, cool. And I was like, no, are you going to take, and I'm like, do you need help? She's like, no, I'm just going to leave those there. Like, you don't have to do them. I'll do them later. Like, so
Okay.
she,
Because I'm like I guess my question would be, where's the resolution in that whole thing? Like, what's the breaking point?
I think she does eventually. She just doesn't like do it while like right then and there. Like that's for me, I do it like that's part of my trash is going out, things are going out.
Sure.
But it just sounds like she just doesn't want to the trash part. It's just not something she wants to do after cleaning.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. I'm curious what the breaking point would be. Like how much do you really, because like those trash bags, it's like, oh, it can expand like this much further out. I'm wondering how much of that limit she tests. So
We won't know unless we ask her. I gotta ask her next time.
yeah, please do. I'm not gonna ask her. It's she's not my friend. Seems too personal asking her about her trash can habits. So uh yeah, ask her next time. You can report back to us. Let us know. But yeah, that's interesting. That is that's a good one too. That is a little quirky, especially like you said, if you go in there and everything else is clean and just that trash is just sitting there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably ask her and she'll probably say, I don't know. So there you go. I'm just
There we go. We got our answer. You know her pretty well, so that seems like it's something you would have the inside scoop on. So, all right, cool. All right, so I have a few. Let's see. I have one from our friend and previous guest, Cedric Fry. He said, I unnoticeably leave kitchen cabinet doors open, making my home look like a poltergeist.
no. See, that's a pet peeve of mine.
I was gonna say, when I read that, I'm like, man,
Sorry,
that's a
pet
pet peeve. That's the perfect example. First of all, it's a good one. That is a good one if that's like a quirk of yours where it's like wherever you go, stuff just gonna be open. But that's the perfect example of what you were saying earlier, where his his quirk is 100% someone else's pet peeve. I should have followed up with him. I should have asked him if his wife has an issue with that.
Yeah, like who do you live alone or how are people okay with that? It's like,
I feel like it's probably not.
no.
It's probably not okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just see me, I got triggered. I was like, nope, nope, nope. Better close that cabinet.
Yeah, Cedric, just so you know, if you're not watching and just listening to this, there you got a strong head shake from Deb. So, which I know you guys have never met before, but if you're ever on the show while Deb's on, just know she's gonna come in with some prejudgment.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. The self.
Perfect. And then let's see, we've got another one here. So this one is from Nick, also known as Dadding Greatly, our friend Dadding Greatly on Instagram. He said, I asked my wife, she said, you put your pants and shoes on before your shirt. Now, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real, Nick. When I first read that, it was not, I'm like, okay, interesting. Then I reread it. I'm like, oh, he puts his shoes on too. The
Yeah.
shoes is where it's a real game changer because it's one thing to put your pants on and your socks, but he's going shoes too. Like you're getting down tying your shoes
Yeah.
before you put a shirt on. That's interesting. That is a quirk for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't. Yeah. had a picture of that too. Pants, shoes, shirt. Like, what?
Yeah, that I'm like, oh, that is an interesting step. I don't think I could do that.
I wonder if he noticed. It sounds like his wife had to point it out to him.
It kind of seemed like that. That's the
Like,
sense I was getting as well. She said you put your pants and shoes on before your shirt.
like I do.
You're right. Really?
Yeah.
And so now I don't know. Nick might be self-conscious every time he gets dressed. It's like, oh, don't do that again. This is weird to everybody. But no, that is interesting. The shoes really puts it over the edge for me. Um, a weird quirk for me is so when I'm getting because I know I listened to a podcast and one of their questions is, do you put your socks on before your pants or your pants on before your socks? And for me, it's weird. I have a real problem. It just feels weird. Like I never wear jeans with no socks. Like that just feels weird to me. So anytime I'm wearing jeans, which is for the most part when I go to work, the socks always go on first and then the jeans. Any other type of pants, it could be like a sweatpant, jogger, shorts. I'll put the pants on first and then socks later. But like for something, the feel of no socks with jeans really throws me off.
So you don't want that feeling at all, even when you're putting jeans on. Like you're trying to avoid that feeling.
I think so.
Okay,
Should have put
that's
that as my quirk.
right. I don't want to feel jeans on my toe, on my feet, my toes.
It's I don't know what it is. That's like when I see like especially I think especially guys like wear jeans with flip flops. I'm like, I don't know how you live this way because for me that would really mess me up.
Yeah.
I
Um,
also don't like when people, this is a pet peeve, but like wearing jeans at the beach. I've talked about this before. It makes me uncomfortable. Like your jeans are getting all soggy. I don't want to roll my jeans up. The whole thing. It's like just wear shorts.
the
But
only
anyways,
I'm
I
trying
don't
to
want to
think.
hijack Nick's quirk, but so the pants thing, got me
That was
thinking. So yeah.
nice.
And then let's see, I've got one more. Uh I got one more from the the all-time leader and guest appearances on this show, Mr. Jordan Takimoto. He says, waiting until my cereal is soggy before eating it. And to add on top of that, he also texts me as we've been recording. He says, not sure if he said, not sure if you're recording, but I call the quirk I sent you sog dogging. I'm like, why? He said, sounds funny when I eat my soggy cereal.
Sounds like that would be something in Urban Dictionary.
So,
Jordan.
sog dogging. I'm like, I know. I feel like I feel like he's pranking me somehow. Like I said something I shouldn't have been saying. Like my brother sog dogs. He's like, what?
Wow.
Everybody's gonna hear it. Like, so what is sog dogging? You don't want to know. So yeah, but he calls it sog dogging.
Ew, mushy cereal.
Hope he didn't screw me over, Jordan. Me saying something just saying something wild out here, making me look like an old guy. It's like oh, sog dogging. What is that?
Mushy
You did. How
cereal.
dare you? But yeah, he likes the soggy cereal. I am the complete opposite. I feel like once you pour that milk, there's
Eat
a
it.
time limit. Like you gotta get to work. That's the one situation where I'm not gonna wait for the movie to start. I just gotta go because the soggy cereal is not my thing.
Not mine either. I won't finish it if it's soggy. I don't,
Are
I
you
don't really,
are you serious?
yeah, if it's soggy, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not gonna eat that.
How much milk do you pour in your cereal?
It's been a minute. I honestly haven't had a bowl of cereal in, don't laugh at me, but probably like 8 years. I don't eat cereal. And
Wow. That's pretty good.
No, I mean, I just don't buy cereal. I just don't do it anymore. Although I love cereal. What was your question? I like to what's the time limit?
Oh,
As I'm saying this, I'm like, wait, he asked me a question because I had to think really hard about the last time I had cereal. What was
you
your
just like you temporarily lost your mind.
I
What did
like
you ask me?
I know. Well, that I was shocked. I'm like, I totally forgot. Temporary
Um, oh,
did you
now I forgot. No, okay. What's dang it.
Oh,
Um,
do I pour a lot of milk?
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't. This
yeah. Do you pour? How much milk do you pour in? Yeah, that was it. Because I think before that, I asked you, what's your time?
oh.
Maybe I didn't. Okay, just yeah. How much milk do you pour in your cereal, Deb? When you have it?
I definitely will have less milk in there so I can eat. And then if there's more cereal, then I pour more milk. I don't like a lot of milk in my cereal.
I'm with you. I'm the same way.
Like it's soggy, Jordan. Ugh,
So
gross.
so Deb's not sog dogging with you.
No.
I do like that term.
Jordan is on his own with sog dogging.
Say it again.
It's on his own.
I bet you he's not. I bet you there's so many people out there. This again, this feels very much like one that's very 50-50.
Mm-mm.
Some people are probably like, I want to throw my mini wheats in there and then not even see any kind of shape to them by the time I'm
Ew.
finishing that up. It's a bad
Mm-mm.
example because I wouldn't eat mini like I don't eat mini wheats with milk. I also eat them kind of like as a snack. I just don't eat them with milk. But um, yeah, no, I'm not a big soggy cereal person. But it's funny, I heard this on a podcast earlier. I don't eat cereal like a bowl of cereal very often either. And I don't know, it's a weird thing because I love cereal as well.
Mm.
Um, but I feel like, in fact, I'm just going to say this right now. I actually tried to get um, a group on, I'm not going to say their name, a group on Instagram who does like cereal. They have like a cereal Instagram page, and yeah, and there's a place in Sacramento that down to or in Old Town Sac that does a cereal shop. I tried getting them on. It didn't really work. I'm not talking about them. There's this other place that I tried getting on. They're like, "Oh, cool. Tell us about your show." I told them, and then they just ghosted me. Didn't appreciate that. But that's okay. We'll let it go. Um, but yeah, I do enjoy cereal, but I feel like it's one of those things that, for whatever reason, in my mind, if especially if I'm trying to eat better, it's an easy choice not to make. If that makes sense. Like I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like there's other breakfast options that I enjoy that I know will set me like up better for the day if I'm
Yeah.
trying to eat better. And I feel like cereal is one of those where I'll walk through the cereal aisle and yeah, in my chunky moments, I'm looking at like Lucky Charms,
Yeah.
Fruity Pebbles. I'm looking at all of them like this looks delicious, but I know you're just getting like this massive box that's not going to help your end goal. So I tend not to do it, but I do like cereal.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love cereal and like I miss it, but
What's your
yeah.
favorite?
So I mean, Lucky Charms is classic.
Hmm.
I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but that gets soggy too fast. So Jordan might like it. Um,
I think he does.
I honestly like Wheaties. Like, you know what I got into the I don't know what they're called anymore, like the Quaker squares.
Oh
Like,
yeah, oatmeal squares.
okay, yeah, the oatmeal squares, like the brown
Rachel
sugar
loves
one.
those.
Okay, I liked, yeah, those were I can my if I can recall my last memory is like eating those and like I liked those.
Okay.
Those were good. Not because they're so dense they can sit in the milk for a while and not get soggy.
Very true. Very true. I like Captain Crunch.
That one tears up the roof of my mouth.
I don't care. I'm 100% with you. It does. And I've said this before. I get canker sores pretty easily. It definitely doesn't help the cause, but I don't care. Salsa, same thing. I've heard salsa is not great for canker sores. Doesn't matter.
Interesting.
Love salsa too much. Also love Captain Crunch too much. So I just kind of let it ride, and whatever it happens, it happens. So um, yeah, this is not a cereal podcast. You guys had that chance. It's that cereal show that I'm not going to name. You had a chance to be on here and talk to us about your cereal show, but you chose not to. Anyways, I'm done. So, Deb, do you have a couple of others before we get out of here?
I just have like maybe two more and they're quick. One of my coworkers, she and my friends reminded me tonight because we were talking about it. She gives everybody a nickname. Everybody. She doesn't call anybody by their actual first name.
Okay. On
Like
first, like even on first meeting?
um yeah, well yeah, first meeting, like she doesn't know them. So, but once if like she like if they become her friend
Gotcha.
or
Okay.
and a pretty good acquaintance, like doesn't even have to be friends she hangs out with, but like even the coworkers that at our school that she doesn't like necessarily hang with or consider a friend, but she sees them a lot, she'll give them a nickname.
Nice. What's your nickname?
What's her nickname?
No, yours.
She calls me Dottie because it's short for daughter.
Oh,
So
okay. Sure.
I'm Dottie. Yeah. And she gave Deb, the other Deb, the nickname Delee, which stuck. So I call her Delee now.
Well, I've heard you call her that before, so that's where it came from. Look at
Yeah. Well,
that.
because when we hired Deb at our school, there were three Debs in the office, me, her, and another Debbie. So we all had to have nicknames because it was so confusing. Like we literally all shared the same office, three Debs, which
That's
is never,
tough.
which is rare because I'm like, I have never even grown up with another Deb, and how all of a sudden in my adult years I'm working with two other ones. It's so weird. So we all had nicknames. So I was Dottie, Deb was Dilly, and the other Deb, her last name is Roberts. And so we called her Ribera, and it's like a long story inside joke. But anyway, like we all had nicknames.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fun. I like that one. So that's a fun quirk.
Uh-huh.
Unless you get stuck with a bad nickname, then it's not so fun. But
Yeah, it just depends, right?
it just depends. Yeah.
Or
I guess
what
if you get stuck with a bad nickname, you probably won't find that out.
yeah,
Keep that
right,
thing a secret.
right.
So
But
you know what we call that English teacher over there? Come here, let me whisper it to you because I don't want her to hear.
right. But yeah, so nicknames. And then one more, Dilly, since we're talking about her,
What up, Deb?
she can fall asleep anywhere, anywhere, at
I
any
feel
time.
like you've mentioned that before, or maybe you've posted that before.
As soon as she leans back and even flutters her eyes shut, she's like asleep.
She's out.
I mean, I don't blame her. The older I get, I feel like I'm doing the same thing. As soon as I lay down for 2 seconds, I'm out.
You've done
So
this podcast before.
I'm just nodding off
Just the slow
like the oh yeah, against the wall.
against the wall.
So,
So yeah. So what else do we need to talk about tonight? Like, why are you leaning so
but
much?
I know, right? But no, but with Deb, she'll with Delise, she'll be at an event, like she'll like if she's at like let's say she's at a house thing,
Sure.
baby shower or whatever. I don't know. She'll go and she'll ask to use someone's bedroom and she'll take a nap.
Oh, really?
Like she'll just yeah, she'll in the middle of a party, she'll fall asleep in
Wait,
another.
how long will she fall asleep?
It just depends. She did that on New Year's Eve one year with us at at the same woman's house who she gives all the nicknames. She was in the living room, passed out before midnight, so she didn't miss the countdown or anything, but
Sure.
she's passed out. She has fallen asleep here at my apartment before, like just hanging out. Like she just that girl, but she does a lot. She's so busy. But I
Sure.
think the second she gets where especially when social things are happening and she's like not really and like she's like just sitting there, she's like, I'm gonna go take a nap, and then she just leaves. We just so that's her quirk. She'll just leave the room and fall asleep.
That's pretty good. That's a
Yeah,
solid one. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah. That sounds nice. A nap sounds nice. So I don't blame her.
I get it. I get it for sure. Cool. Well, a solid episode. A lot of quirks out there. And as always, if you guys are listening to this and you want to head over to Instagram or our YouTube page, you can let us know what your quirks are. And it's not going to make it on the show, but at least you can contribute to the conversation in that way. So, um, yeah, fun episode. Always fun doing our little top fives. That being said, Deb, where can they follow us on social media?
You guys can follow us at Connectable Pod on Twitter and all other social media at Connectable Podcast. And if you follow us on Instagram, then you can see us asking you questions about like episodes like this. Like what is your like we posted what is your quirk and then we read it on the show. So follow us on Instagram for those. We try to involve the audience. So there you go.
Yes. 100%. And then please make sure you subscribe on or to our YouTube channel, also on your favorite podcast app. So that way, as soon as we drop in this episode, it goes directly to your phone or to your computer, however you listen to your podcast. And then if you could do us a favor and you could leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or give us a like on YouTube, that would be awesome. All of those little things help. You don't think it does, but it really does, and we appreciate it. So that would be awesome. And that's all I've got. So continue to live your life and all the quirks that you have. And we will see you guys next week. See ya. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.